Now we're girding for the big one in the United States, and it's been a long slog, hasn't it? But with the American election just days away, the race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is tied in the polls. And this has truly been an election campaign like no other. But all that we can say for certain is that it's looking tight. Both candidates are still hard at it. They've been in key states. Kamala Harris has been in Nevada, and so has Donald Trump, who's also been in Arizona. The gender divide has been prominent in the campaign, with polls suggesting that Donald Trump has an advantage among men. But American women tend to vote in larger numbers than men, and among female voters, Kamala Harris holds a significant lead. So will it be enough to win her the White House? What can people expect on Tuesday?
I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother. A mother who cares deeply about the world my children and all of our children live in. A world where we have the freedom to control our bodies. A world where we're not divided. Our past, our present, our future merge to meet us here. Imagine our daughters growing up seeing what's possible with no ceilings, no limitations. Imagine our grandmothers. Imagine what they feel right now. Those who have lived to see this historic day.
I am an actor and an entertainer, and I like Hollywood endings. I like when the good guy, or in this case, the good girl wins. You can't even spell American without Rican. This is our country too, and we must exercise our right to vote on November 5th.
Because here's the thing, we know if he is elected on day one, Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. When I am elected, I will walk in with a to-do list. All right, so now is the time to remind our neighbors and our friends to make a plan to vote in person on Election Day, or to return your mail ballot. And Pennsylvania, if you still have a mail ballot, you can take it to a ballot drop box or an election office in your county by 8 p.m. on Election Day. Let's spread the word.
And I said, we're going to do this thing. We're going to do it again. And we're doing well. I mean, now we're going to know in 4 days. But we're doing very well. I think we're leading by a lot. And if we can keep them, if we can keep that cheating down, because they're a bunch of cheats, if we can keep that cheating down, we're going to have a tremendous victory. I think it'll go down as one of the greatest victories of all time. So we're going to have an exciting time. We're going to have an exciting time.
Well, in a moment, I'll be joined here in the studio by our guest analyst, who will give us his assessment of the U.S. election. But first, to get a better sense of why Donald Trump is already making allegations of cheating in the ballot, earlier I was joined on the line from the United States by the chief Republican strategist, Errol Moorcock.
Just stop and remember that 2 days ago, 161,000 ballots were almost duplicated and counted in Michigan if it wasn't for Laura Trump, the chair of the RNC, who found that and stopped that. We have a situation in Michigan as well of a Chinese student who has voted illegally, but the way that ballot tracking goes, they don't let you track the ballot back for the safety of the voter, and so that ballot will count. So when Donald Trump speaks of cheating, he speaks in the broad spectrum, whether it's fire in the drop boxes, or whether it's intimidation, or the poll workers in Pennsylvania who closed down the Bucks County poll early. The Governor Josh Shapiro, the Democrat governor, was forced to reopen it a day later because of this. So I think these are the types of cheating he's speaking to, and he still personally doesn't believe that the 2020 election was above board. And honestly, 60-70% of our voters don't believe that, and half of the country think that there was serious questions around the election. Now, whether or not that's actually going to be what we put down in the history books or not, before an election with attempted fraud in different situations. It's not unexpected for Donald Trump to do that. And he's in the pole position, so him questioning the legitimacy of the election probably isn't the smartest thing to do when it looks like he's going to win. If he's saying the election's going to be full of cheaters and he wins, it's going to be a little bit contradictory. But that's Trump. That's how he speaks. And I think everybody has to take it with a bit of a grain of salt. What he means in cheating is a broad spectrum cheating, and it's not maybe talking directly to someone.
And that's the chief Republican strategist, Errol Moorcock, there talking to me earlier in the day. It's quite a long interview, but we had to keep it brief in order to get the other take on the U.S. election. And for that take, I'm joined now in the studio by the international current affairs analyst, Kenny Okolugbo, who is also a political and communications consultant and was a former commissioner in Delta State. Thank you very much indeed.
It's always my pleasure.
How do you see this historic moment in American politics?
I don't think there's been any election in American politics that's going to be like this one. Because for the first time, if you look at 1972, the last time a Republican won Nevada, up until 2024, the indices are so, because the polls are so clear. CNN gave it at 47, that was last Friday, 47% to Kamala and 47% to Donald Trump. Fox gave it at 50% to 48%, 50 to Donald Trump and 48% to Kamala. And so if you look at the average pool gives them neck to neck and within the margin of error. So basically what I think has happened here in America is basically divided now. They're divided among the Democrats and the Republicans. There's just so much bad blood that has been built over a long period of time, coupled with a bad economy that they're facing now, inflation that they're facing now, open borders. And so it has become very difficult for the Democrats to have stayed on their traditional base, which is the Black Americans and the Latinos. And so because the Republicans has gained in terms of the Black votes and the Latino votes, it has made the elections much more closer.
Well, actually, there is no evidence to support what you're saying.
But
there
CNN...
have been innumerable polls.
No, CNN gave plus 65 to Kamala and plus 80 to Biden in 2020. I'm talking about the Black votes. Then in the Latino votes, is the polls we're looking at. You know, when you look at the polls, the actual exit polls will tell us what the details of the votes are on Tuesday. Right. But we're looking at the polls that they have conducted now. The CNN poll gives plus 65 to Kamala. That is the lowest any Democratic candidate has had.
To be entirely
in the history of the American
To be entirely
politics.
fair, there are a whole slew of different polls. So I wouldn't place too much premium on what you're seeing there. But would you say that with both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump on the ticket, the world is on the precipice of having a very different America, irrespective of who wins this race?
Definitely, because if you look at Kamala Harris, she's far left. She's more of the Bernie Sanders.
She's not far left. She's center left.
No, she's been far left. She's been more of the Bernie Sanders.
To what Donald Trump
No, I'm not listening to Donald Trump.
But that's what you're saying. I mean, you're not listening to her.
No,
if you listen
what
to
I'm
her,
saying is
she's center left.
she has accepted that she's changed her values. I'm being very factual here.
Please.
She was against fracking, was she not? Now she's for fracking.
That's not far left.
That's far left. It's far left that talks about the green...
being concerned about a green
When you talk about fracking, you're talking about actually carrying out oil exploration. And America has a lot of oil deposits.
Yeah, of course
and they're making
does.
a whole lot of money from oil. So when a candidate tells you in 2019 she doesn't want you to explore anymore for oil, she doesn't want anything to do with oil, what does that tell you?
Look,
she comes from the Bernie Sanders bloc. What I'm trying to say is that she has just moved.
That is definitely.
Did you hear what Bernie Sanders said? Bernie Sanders said she's only moving.
Bernie Sanders is clearly far left.
But Bernie Sanders agreed.
There is no question.
Bernie Sanders agreed that they come from the same bloc, and she's only moving because of the change of elections.
Let's not argue about
All right.
this. What is your crystal? I mean, one thing I like about talking with you, even though I get worried that you slant in one particular.
No, I would also look at the aspect of the Republicans.
But looking down the middle,
yes,
as far as it is possible for you to do that, what is your crystal ball telling you about this U.S. election, as honestly as you can? What is your prediction about who is likely to win?
I'm looking at three scenarios. Now, Kamala Harris, of course, is going to take California and is going to take New York. That's already 44 electoral votes. And so the totality of electoral votes she's going to come into Tuesday night with should be 225. Trump is going to come in with 219 electoral votes. Taking Texas and Florida, those are no more swing states. So we're looking at Nevada, we're looking at Pennsylvania, and we're looking at Georgia. Now, if Trump is able to hold Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, and
well, he didn't win
Pennsylvania.
Georgia the last time.
No, he didn't. I said if he's able to hold North Carolina,
Yeah, but why would he
then
be
win,
able to
then
hold?
win Georgia, win Pennsylvania, and win Nevada, he becomes the next president.
Yeah.
Now, the path for Kamala Harris is also very clear. She comes to 225, and there's every possibility she's going to win Michigan because she's been doing a whole lot of work in Michigan, even though the Arab Americans are for Trump, which is the biggest problem she's
Well, they're
having.
not actually for Trump because what?
But they
is-
have
what-
endorsed.
No, no, no.
They have endorsed.
No, no, no.
Trump.
that You're saying there are a lot of.
I have given her Michigan already.
No, no, no. There are a lot of,
But I'm also
Arab
saying-
Americans. You
No.
can't say that they, as a bloc, have endorsed.
But basically, the main bloc of the Arab Americans have said they're going to vote
I mean,
for
it's a
Trump.
bit silly. No, no, no.
No, but I have still given her
hold
Michigan
on,
even
hold
without
on.
that.
What we're hearing
Yes.
is that a large percentage of them are saying they're not going to
vote for Kamala.
No, no, no. They're not going to vote at all as
Then
a
a
protest.
whole lot of them are
because
saying
it's a
they will
bit
vote for
silly.
Trump.
I mean, why would they vote for Trump, who has very clearly come out against
Palestine.
the Palestinians?
And say he stands with
I mean,
Israel.
of course.
They said
I mean,
because
it doesn't make any sense.
one of the excuses they gave is that while Trump was there was peace, there was no war. But if I give her Michigan, I give her Pennsylvania, and I give her, I might not give her Nevada. Nevada is a bit on the toss-up. I could give her Georgia because Georgia is close. Even if she doesn't take Georgia, if she takes Nebraska and she takes Michigan, which is most likely, like I've said, and Pennsylvania, which is a toss-up state, and maybe Georgia, she's the next president.
Well, I mean, the question here is whether there will be a shattering of the glass ceiling for a woman, for a mixed race black person, part Asian, part African.
Yes.
Or whether there'll be a return of the male white leadership of Donald Trump. What I want to ask you is this. If Donald Trump were to lose, do you believe that the election deniers and calls of sort of election fraud will be ramped up? Do you believe, as some do, that Mr. Trump will claim victory regardless of whether or not he has won?
I think it will be most impossible for him to claim victory at
But
this
he's
point.
already doing that.
Then there was Corona, there was COVID. That was in 2020. A whole lot of mail-in ballots came, and it's not something they've had in America before, where people were voting by mail-in ballots. But for the first time, people are voting in person and voting by mail-in ballots. So I expect by the election night, those ballots will be counted. And don't forget that Laura Trump has said they've employed over 200,000 election watchers, and they've also gotten lawyers who would carry out their watch. It would be absurd if by Tuesday night, Michigan, for example, is declared for Kamala Harris, Pennsylvania is declared for Kamala Harris, and even Nevada, because remember, no Republican has won Nevada in a long while. With those three states, she's become the next president of America. So it would be absurd if Trump says that if those three states are won by Kamala, I don't see how he would dispute it. But if he keeps North Carolina and is able to win Georgia and Pennsylvania, then that's when there will be a shattering of the ceiling for him, for having left office and would have come back. But I think Americans are looking at it. There's a bit of chauvinism here, because if you look at the difference between male voters, Trump has plus 14, and Kamala has plus 14 too for the women voters. So plus 14 for women for Kamala, plus 14 for men. So it's divided among that line, I think.
Right.
But people will be excited to actually see a female American becoming the first president of America.
So at the end of the day,
yes,
because having seen what we saw in 2020 going into 2021, do you believe that there will be a peaceful transfer of power in America, or do you fear that America could see another January the 6th when that
I believe there will be
was mounted on the Capitol?
I believe there will be peaceful transfer of power, because there is always the possibility that one of these candidates will win the 7 swing states.
but also because of American institutions, which are bigger than
they have put the checks and balances. So it becomes impossible, especially with the Supreme Court. You look at Virginia, for example, the 1,600 voters that were taken off the Virginia list, and that the appeal court upheld. The Supreme Court they're on vacation. But they came and immediately took a decision and said that the 1,600 people should be taken off the list. And if you are a citizen and you're able to prove with your citizenship identity card, you can go on election day to vote. So those checks and balances are there for America. That's why I see. But I fear there will be too much of a divide. And so whoever is going to win on Tuesday night, whoever is going to win on Tuesday night must pull the country together, because this campaign has been so much of bad blood.
I agree with you. And the big fear is that America could well be in for several months of divisiveness and challenge.
Certainly, especially with the Biden factor, having called the Trump supporters garbage, and Trump having to now go on the garbage truck.
You do worry me, Ken.
To go on the garbage truck, and then Mark Coburn having to say intelligent women are not around.
Look,
Trump.
He made it absolutely clear.
Yes.
The president, he rolled back on what he said.
He didn't apologize.
No. He rolled back on it, saying he was referring to the comedian who made that
then
point.
He should have
Donald
said,
Trump
he should have said supporter, not supporters.
Donald Trump did not.
It was a plural, supporters.
Donald Trump did not roll back on what the comedian
that's the problem.
said.
That's the problem.
He didn't roll back.
That's the problem with Trump. Trump said it was a comedian that said it. He didn't say it. Well, in this case, it was Biden.
But he should have come out. That's the presidential thing to do.
No, he said he doesn't know the comedian.
But what I'm saying is that he should have condemned what the comedian.
He should have agreed with you.
Yeah, he didn't condemn it. Whereas immediately Biden came out and rolled back on what he said. Well, yeah, but that's why he shouldn't be the president. That's the argument people make.
But when you have over 50% of Americans supporting him, it becomes very difficult.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
To think that
we'll see what happens on Tuesday. But, I mean, at this point, with 4 days to go, are you anxious, excited, perhaps at this incredible moment of possibility in U.S. history?
I am, but let me make a prediction. At least for the first time in U.S. history, over 200 million people are going to vote. You remember Trump had 74 million and Biden had 86 million. With the turnout that we have seen, with over 50 million people who haven't voted, I see a situation where we'll have almost 200 million, close to 200 million people who have voted. But I dare say, I'm sure you would say, because I have this kind of leaning towards Trump, not exactly, but I dare say that Kamala Harris came too late into the race. If Biden had dropped out and allowed primaries to be held, Kamala Harris would have been on a stronger footing. If she wins, she would have shattered the ceiling, because she would have been able to show that you could campaign within the short period of time that she has. People should also give it to Kamala Harris. The period she has had to campaign.
Well, she's raised so much money.
Yes, over $1 billion. In the history of America, no candidate has
unprecedented.
It's unprecedented. And within the short period Kamala Harris have had to campaign, give it to her. No matter how much you want to say this about her or that about her, yes, the stars are coming out from her. Beyonce, J-Lo, all of them are
Taylor Swift.
I mean, they are all coming out to endorse her, and that has been traditional for most Democrats, if you look at it. But she's been able to go around the states, and she was able to grant a Fox interview.
She's done well.
With Brett Baer.
Is it quite interesting to you, though, that for some reason nobody really comes out to, very few people come out to endorse Donald Trump?
Oh, if you look at Donald Trump.
You look at past presidents, Republicans,
you're looking at George
all the rest
Bush,
of it.
you're looking at George Bush, you're looking at Cheney.
Well,
Cheney has a personal spot
No, I'm not just talking about Cheney. I'm talking about people like the former...
the richest man,
the former,
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, I mean... That's
the richest man in the world.
Elon Musk would not be the best example, because
who else
if you're comparing it to rich people, the guy who runs Microsoft... has also come out to endorse Kamala Harris.
Don't forget that most of the traditional newspapers, like Washington Post and all the others, have refused to endorse Kamala
No,
Harris.
no.
The union workers
Just
did not endorse Kamala Harris.
You're making a
The
generalized
Teamsters
statement.
didn't endorse
You're making
Kamala
a generalized
Harris.
statement.
Yeah.
The Washington Post did not endorse it, but the New York Times did.
No, New York Times would always endorse.
And The Economist has endorsed her.
No, but I'm looking at the traditional ones that have always endorsed that didn't endorse. The
look,
unionists, the Teamsters,
I'll tell you what. We shall see what happens on Tuesday, and hopefully you'll grace us with your presence again when you're when you're gnashing your teeth in ignominious defeat.
No, but I dare say that on Wednesday, most likely Trump would win the election.
Well, I think
that's my prediction. I'm not so.
Okay. Well, you're entitled to your prediction. And on that note, I want to say thank you, Kenny. I really appreciate your coming in, because I know you had a lot of other things to do, but you made out time to come and talk to us, so we appreciate that. Kenny Okolugbo is an international current affairs analyst. He's also a political and communications consultant and was a former commissioner in Delta State. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Indeed.